Welcome back to another international break edition of Walking the London Road. Another week without Oxford United. Yay. Saves all of our sanity. Gents, we had England against Serbia and Albania to enjoy. And also, to be fair, very entertaining games for Republic of Ireland. So we've at least had something to entertain ourselves this international break. Connor?
What was more entertaining was seeing Mark Harris not scoring against Liechtenstein. God. We had our own internal discussion about Mark Harris not scoring against Liechtenstein or Kazakhstan, but I think that's for another day.
Yeah, definitely. Will, were you intrigued by the late World Cup qualifier? Or was it just kind of take a week away from football?
Just take a week away from football. I mean, I saw the first England game against Serbia. I saw the second half of that, and after that, I thought, I'm finished with football for a little bit. Just decided to take a break from it. So I haven't seen a performance against Albania. I did see Ireland and what they did, and I thought that was amazing. Fair play to Ireland. But yeah, just sort of enjoying a bit of peace.
Big up Kieran Brown. I think he's playing tonight for Northern Ireland. I think, as we're recording, so hopefully the boys get a win.
Yes, fingers crossed. But quite funny. Off the back of our discussion last week about the certain manager situation, we've got a fun little game to entertain ourselves with this week. Comes from Connor. So we're calling this the 9 Degrees of Oxford managers. If you look on your screen, folks, we have got 9 different sections and 9 different forms. So we're going to go Connor, Will, and then myself. We've all got 3 managers, and the person whose turn it is gets the final say, but there's going to be some debate over where certain managers should go. Why not start with the current situation? Number 1, Connor, yours is Gary Rowett. We're chucking him in the in that very bottom row.
Put him in great manager. Fans are divided. I think objectively, when you look at Gary Rowett, he's only ever had 1 relegation, which wasn't his. When he left Burton Albion, he left them, and they were going to go to promotion anyway. And Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, when he came in at Burton at the time, he literally said, "I don't need to do anything. Just keep doing what you're doing." Went to Derby, got them to the Championship playoffs. Stoke, was an absolute shit show. He took over at Birmingham City when again they were a shit show and managed to keep them above water when they were struggling behind the scenes. And now and he went to Millwall and he got them within touching distance again of the top 6. And for some reason he's come to us and managed to keep us up. Very, very good manager. But because of his style of play, it has left a lot of fans divided in the stands, and we could see that already seeping into the stands, which I don't like. But again, that's for another conversation. His football at other clubs at times may have given him success, but his football is also the thing that is his Achilles heel when it comes to us Oxford fans. So for that reason, I'm going to have to put him in great manager. Fans are divided.
Will, I'll let you go on your thoughts on this one, because I don't know whether he goes in the great managers category.
Yeah, I mean, I think Connor smashed it. He's convinced me. I was going to put him sort of bang in the middle, average manager and divided fans. I don't know if that's just because I'm still a little bit peeved from West Ham away. I think everything Connor says makes perfect sense. He hasn't really had many great squads he's been able to keep us afloat so far. Maybe give it a few more weeks and then sort of see him slide further and further to the right. But I think for now, I'm going to have to agree with you on this.
My only contrarian take on this, Connor, is 2 things. Number 1, that's Stoke time. He mentioned himself it's the worst 9 months of his footballing career, and we can't just carry it. At the same time, there's also how much do we look into him being overlooked for certain jobs. I mean, there's the very famous Paul Merson quote from when he's trying to disband. It is a tricky one, because I think, as much as I've said before, I really like Gary Rowett, but that we can't completely discount that Stoke time, really. And like I say, Birmingham, that was a basket case club that he was in. I mean, Stoke was to a certain degree as well, to be fair.
Apart from the top managers, show me a manager that hasn't had an absolute shit stint. I'm going to say top ones. I do include basically most 20 in the Premier League. Maybe Pep and Arteta. Show me a manager that hasn't had an absolute shit time at a shit case football club. He's even Rowett. To be fair to Rowett, he's even gone on the record and he hasn't blamed anybody else. And he said, "Yeah, that was the worst." He said that it was the worst time, and some of it was his doing, but some of it was also things that went on behind the scenes. So you have to take a pinch of salt with some things that these managers says, but two things can also be true. And I think that at the time he was. Because he left, correct me if I'm wrong, he left Derby to go to Stoke, didn't he? Stoke just recently got relegated. I think at that time in his managerial career, he was still pretty, I'd say he was still young. He was only, 3 or 4 years into his managerial experience. And I think that he went in thinking that he could work miracles, and his trajectory was only up. And I think that he's taken, now that he's older, he's in his 50s now. At the time he was in his early 40s, so he's taken a step back and have a bit of self-reflexivity. That wasn't the right call to do. And I think, do you think he's trying to do some sort of redemption arc, completing a redemption arc by coming to a club like us who are smallest in the league and trying to, keep us up, or at least keep the ship? Because if he does, if he keeps us up again, there is no reason why he shouldn't be in great manager.
That's fair. Like we said, Connor's got the final say, and he's gone for great manager, but fans are divided. Or Mr. Des Buckingham, one of our own. I will say, Will, if you put him in bad manager, I'm going to riot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very clear Des Buckingham's definitely going to be in the top row for loved by the fans, but it's just so rare. And I was actually considering him to put in bad manager, just because of how his managerial time at Oxford started, and then also how it ended. It ended obviously in a bit of a disaster, as we all know.
Yeah. And
it didn't start great either. I'm just thinking of that game against Derby, we went 2-0 up, and then somehow lost 3-2. The 1-1 managed to draw 1-1 with them.
I'm thinking of that game at Bolton.
It turned it all around.
Bring that up.
To be fair, I would prefer to lose to Bolton than fucking beat him in the playoff final.
I mean, but I've eventually settled on average manager loved by the fans. I think I wouldn't put him as a great manager because he did turn a pretty disastrous situation around. He did win that playoff final, and that playoff final was probably the greatest, I think, tactical performance I've ever seen from an Oxford team. We completely nullified them. They had 0 shots on target, and I think it was so unexpected as well. I think given all that, taking all that into account, I'm going to say average manager, but absolutely loved by the fans, because I don't think I've ever felt the manager and the fan base more connected than it was with Des Buckingham. Obviously, it helped the fact that he was a local lad. Also, just his character, the way he went about things, like even just the little things. The fact that he referred to the Eastern as the Oxford Nails Town. The fact that when he did interviews, you could see that he had like a picture of like the manor ground in his background. Just little things like that just showed that, like, yeah, basically just sort of did it more. That's something with loved by the fans, but average manager.
Any argument on that, Connor?
No, not really. I think that with a lot of these, when you're looking at either great, average, or bad manager, I think that you've also got to take into account, would these men get a job now at the level of where they were at?
Mm-hmm.
So would Rowett get a job at another championship club? Would Des get a job at another League One club? And I think they both absolutely do in their own respective right. But, that Will is absolutely right. Like, it started and ended in disaster, and gave me one of the best moments I've ever had supporting the club and with my old man. So he's going to have to be loved by fans. Average manager.
I will say that, I mean, he's doing quite well in Saudi Arabia. All credit to him, even though I have got criticism of him going there in the first place. But I think he's in the category of managers of the potential he's got to make it in the game is huge. You might chuckle at that, but that performance, that managerial performance against Bolton, the way he so brilliantly analysed the weaknesses of that Everton side, and then went, all I'm going to do is just have Sparky run his backside off and stop the passing lanes to a certain player, and we win the game. It's obviously not gone particularly well for him. Didn't go well for him at the back end of his Oxford career, obviously, much to my chagrin. Obviously, there was some. It did turn toxic quite quickly, but I think we said on at the time last year, Connor, that no one wanted him to go. It was very much a begrudging, let's get him gone before it gets any more toxic, because we don't want to ruin the memories of Wembley.
I do reflect on that period of time. I do wonder deep down if I was in denial. Like, I knew that it was coming, and then when it happened, I was just in such deep denial that it happened as quickly and as cutthroat as that. But yeah, you're right. Anybody that's watching this and you haven't already, if you haven't, why not go watch the Coach's Voice video with Des Buckingham about how he won the 2024 League One playoff final. It is absolutely sensational viewing.
I think also one more thing. Well, it's one more thing, Sam. It's just like that video of him at the victory parade singing "Swindon Town is falling down." It's like the best video I've ever seen of an Oxford manager. So that's why he's obviously on the top right. But yeah.
So much that even the fucking county council got in on things.
He's
had an impact when the fucking county council are retweeting videos like that.
You don't know what you're tweeting. Oh yes, we do.
So yes, so we'll put in where we'll demand now. Right, this one's going to be interesting. Obviously, recently in the news, Liam Manning. This is so tricky because my thought process when obviously we divvied these up was, if you look at his last 4 jobs, he's been sacked twice, and then obviously been bought out of his contract twice. So it's difficult because, Norwich obviously at the minute are in not a good spell. I can't remember much, Connor, about the end to his MK Dons tenure. If I remember right, I think he lost a couple key players in the window before. But I'm very much up for swaying on this. At the minute, I'm probably swaying towards average manager hated by the fans. But like I say, I could be swayed.
Yeah, the end to his MK Don's career was just before. It was actually the same season when Robinson got sacked, but it was just a little bit before. But ultimately, MK Don still went down, I believe, that season. I think the biggest thing from that season as to why MK Dons went down for Liam Manning was that they lost Scott Twine, and they lost, his name escapes me. The boy went up to Celtic, but he lost 2 key players, and the whole spine of the MK Dons team just collapsed. But even when, ironically enough, when we went there, I believe we went there just before he got, a few games before we got sacked, and MK Dons went and fucking won, didn't they? But however, he got excuse me. When he came in, we were absolutely hopeless at the back, if you remember. Absolutely shite. And he managed to shore us up. There were so many draws we only conceded, I believe, either we didn't concede, but we weren't scoring, or we were only conceding 1, but we were only scoring 1. And then it was towards when we were playing the really dire teams, that's when we came out a bit. I'm thinking of the more infamous one of that season, Forest Green Rovers, when we won 3 or 4-0 away from home. But then you also think about, in that summer, the caliber of player that he and Ed Waldron was somehow able to bring in. I think of the likes of McEachran, Greg Lee, Mark Harris, Um, Edwards. Is it Edwards?
Yeah.
What a player. Stan Mills. Ruben Rodriguez. How on earth Manning and Ed Waldron managed to bring in Ruben Rodriguez? And he got us playing in a way in League One that was... It's weird because it's kind of like how Rowett and Manning are very similar in that they pride themselves in being defensively sure at the back. But at that level in League One, you knew that we were going to play some exciting stuff in transitions. And then he was proven again that he was, when he had the right players in place, that he was an excellent manager at League One level. And when you look at it objectively, when you look at it from a career point of view, where are you going to be? You're going to be at Oxford or Bristol City in the Championship. And yes, that really fucking hurt after he gave that interview on the Durban. Chris Hogg gave that interview to say, no, there's been no contact and we're not going anywhere. And it's been what is it now? It's been 2 years. Was it now? Yeah, 2 years? A year?
Yes,
no,
it is,
a year. Yes, 2 years.
2 years.
Excuse me. Gosh, time goes quickly. Let's not act like if Norwich came now that there still wouldn't be, some rumblings in the stands about the way that he left. Because I'm sure that the Bristol City lot gave it the same when they went to Carrow Road. And he got it. This sounds incredibly harsh, but you can compartmentalize what the tragedy that happened in his personal life and box that away from how he acted in his professional life. And how he acted in his professional life was not conducive of what you'd expect from someone who sticks by their words. He was the complete antithesis. So for that reason, I would put him in great manager, hated by fans.
Okay. Will?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, obviously on the bottom row when it comes to hated by fans. I mean, he is like the singular reason why there was a much more increased police presence when we went to Bristol City. They were calling it the Liam Manning derby, but the way he left. I mean, obviously Bristol City is a much better, or much bigger, I should say, more attractive club than Oxford, but still, like Connor said, after what he said about not leaving, there's been no interest. It's still it's like a bunch. And he left on my birthday, so he always got the place in my heart for that reason.
Ow.
Yeah. Great or average manager? I don't quite know. I mean, he did keep us in League Two with a pretty awful situation, but yeah, he showed us up at the back, but he only won 2 of his 8 games or 2 of his 10 games. I think that was Cheltenham and Forest Green. If you think on the final day when we played Accrington Stanley, I think we still lost 2-0. And we're quite lucky that wasn't a must-win game, or it could have been a bit hairy. But then again, he did do quite well when he went to Bristol. He got them into the playoffs after finishing mid-table for what seemed like an eternity for Bristol City fans. And when he started at us in League One, he did do a really solid job for us. I think he left me with 2nd, I might say.
Mm-hmm.
So I originally had him as average manager, hated by the fans, and I think I'm going to stick with that. I think I'm thinking of the way he started us, his time at Norwich and his time at Milton Keynes. I think I'm going to stick with him as average manager, but definitely hated by the fans.
I think if there was another job, I don't think he'll take another job this season. But I think if there was a job opening in the Championship over the summer, he would still be a strong contender for a job in the Championship.
The other part of it is that, and I not really meant to do this, but just thinking about the other manager we've got coming up.
I'm thinking about the next one, mate. Don't you dare take the spot I want to put him in.
But I'm also thinking the other manager we've got left, and there's only, to my mind, there's 3 managers that can really probably occupy. No, 2 managers that can occupy the bottom left hand corner. As a result of that, I'm gonna stick with my initial thought and go with average manager, hated by the fans, just because I think. I mean, I wouldn't put a certain manager that I've got in mind in this next spot, but I think I think Will might. Right. Going back in the timeline even further. Oh, what an awful end it was to such a joyous time. Connor, KR.
I've put Mr. Robinson. I'm going to have to try and convince you to keep him in average manager. Fans are divided.
Okay.
Took my spot. Okay.
So,
Go on.
average manager, right? Should I do this chronologically, or should I do this by pros versus cons? There's just so much baggage of this bloke. When he came in the first,
to the behind the badge episode, aren't we?
oh yeah, I'm buzzing. When he came in, one of the things that he said on the radio was, "I didn't know what Oxford was." Like, well, that's bollocks. You know where it is. I feel like everybody in the country with a brain knows where Oxford is. In that season, came in after Clotet. You have to give him plaudits. When it looked like that we were going to go down, he somehow managed to keep us up. And then the next season, I think that a lot of us were still living off that. Oh, right, okay, we've just had a blip in the road. Like, this is still an Appleton team, because there were still some Appleton signings that were coming through the door.
Yeah.
If memory serves me correct. But again, it didn't really go to plan. But, I think that people did remind themselves of how it went under Appleton at the start in his first full season, that it didn't really go off great, but it started to pick up. And I think that's from there really where we saw Robbo Ball. Like the first 18 months, it was pretty inconsistent and pretty bad. But then you saw the kind of football that you wanted to play, and how a lot of it was inspired by Klopp and the Gegenpressing and rock and roll football. And this is where I think I have an issue with a few of our fans, that they focus purely on the bad times, which I'll get onto, but they forget how joyous it was when it worked to watch the football that he played.
Mm-hmm.
I think about when he had players, because he his thing was always strong, powerful, fast wingers. And I think of the likes of when he already had a James Henry in there, when he brought in a Marcus Brown, when he brought in a Nathan Holland, like that 1920 team, although we didn't get over the line, it was one of my favourite teams that I can remember from watching the club. Some of the players that he brought through, and then some, such as a Shandon Baptiste, who we sold for multi-millions, and then some of the centre-halves particularly that he brought in, Luke McNally, Rob Dickey, Rob Atkinson, again, all multi-million pound players that went on for the club. So, you have to acknowledge he did use that as a self-defense mechanism towards the end, but when you take a look back, like he was right. Took us on multiple FA Cup runs. With regards to the playoffs, I don't understand why he didn't change tactically for that, because we all knew what Wycombe were going to do. Time and time again, we came up against Wycombe, and there were other teams that we came up against time and time again. This was his main downfall. His stubbornness, that he just would not change and he would not adapt. That is ultimately what cost us in the playoff final. You could say it was a penalty, Matty Taylor not finishing, or James Henry not taking a shot. I still have nightmares about that. Thank you, by the way, Henry. But if we got promoted that season, I think we would have been absolutely torn to shreds in the Championship.
Yeah, definitely.
When he got promoted with MK Dons, I think they were 23rd when they got relegated. And they got relegated by double-figure points margin, I believe. And that would have been a club that would have had a lot more resource, I think, at the time than at Oxford. And then we get on to, where it all goes tumbling down. I'm going to skip over 21-22 because I think that we all had a little bit of delusion then, thinking that we could still do it.
Yeah.
But we get into 22-23, and this could be a whole episode on itself. The rumours of what were happening behind the scenes, I think, have been well rehearsed, and we don't need to go over again. He has been, I think he's gone on record by saying about his divorce, his separation. He's mentioned that, so we can mention it on here. And that clearly, on a human level, you have to, well, I think so anyway, you have to acknowledge that that was obviously playing on his mind, and he was bringing his personal life into the workplace, both literally and metaphorically. And as a professional, you can't do that. And I think at that time he was still like a high-end League One manager. I don't think he was a top League One manager. Like a Ferguson or a Paul Warne would be considered top-end League One managers. He was a top 6, maybe top 8 League One manager. But again, when it turned toxic and he refused to leave, and he had to be pushed before he jumped himself. And, having spats with local media. There was a quite infamous spat that he had with Nathan Cooper when he told him to stop doing his job. And, as I mentioned earlier, using the defense mechanism of I've made this club millions, I've took you fans on cup runs, on playoff runs, a playoff campaign which we were absolutely fucking humiliated in, by the way, against Blackpool. And then he did go on national radio again. I'm not sure if I told you boys this or if you were listening. He said, I deserve to be sacked. And the radio host at the time, Jim White, said, if you deserve to be sacked, why didn't you walk away? Why did you have, don't you think that would have been the honourable thing to do? And you can understand by the point that he said, we all have families, which I get in the time that he was going through. So I think that the two counterweigh themselves. And I do think that a fair amount of the fans of our fan base still, those last 7 or 8 months cloud over what at times good football and what some of the good times that we had. Like the West Ham result, the Newcastle result. I think about the Shrewsbury game, and we came back from 2-0 down just before COVID happened. I'm convinced that season as well that if COVID hadn't have happened, we would have got automatic promotion. We were that good that season. But so I'm going to have to go with average manager. Fans are divided.
It is a really tricky one with KR because, like you say, I mean that last game, that Bristol Rovers game, will forever live in the back of my head. It's like, obviously, Cam gives the penalty away, and I think it's Scott Sinclair scores the second goal from open play, and it gets so toxic. I think they're going at half time, and it's chance of it's just not good enough and all that kind of stuff. I think game before he'd referenced the run of games after Luton, I think it was. Oh God, was that 21-22 or was that 20-21? I can't remember. So you're right, it did get really toxic and he didn't help himself at all. Though, like you say, it's also difficult because on the positives, some of the football we were playing was absolutely sensational. Some of the nights he gave us at the Castab were insane.
Mm-hmm.
The players we bought in, like you say, just looking at some of those defenders, the Matty Taylor James Henry connection being, looking like, fuck it, why not call up for the England national team? But then I've also got on again, going back to the negatives, allegedly having a very close relationship with a certain agent, which meant we sign a metric shit ton of injury-prone players on massive wages. I don't know. Will?
This is exactly my point, by the way. Divided.
Yeah, divided. I mean, it's no question that towards the end, just because of the football and everything going on behind the scenes, that he wasn't in the fans' good books. But I think before that, the fans were pretty on board with him. I seem to remember, I think it was Sunderland at home. It was a season we didn't reach the playoffs, where they weren't in the division. It was the Fanatics at that stage. They actually had like a banner of him in the East Stand. It's like Carl Robinson, Oxford loves you more than you will know, something like that. So there was a time when he was clearly loved by the fan base. Average manager, yeah, it was pretty exciting football. We'd either score 3 or concede 3, or probably do both at the same time. We did, like you said, he gave some pretty incredible nights. West Ham, Newcastle, Man City. Even if we lost 3-1, just getting a goal against them with Mike Taylor, that was pretty incredible. The playoff campaigns. Kind of annoyed you guys brought that up. I didn't really want to remember those. I mean, beating Pompey, that was pretty special, but losing to Wickham was disastrous. And then Blackpool, I guess we won't even mention.
Beating Pompey in the playoffs was the most shithouse thing I think I've ever seen. We had one good break at Fratton Park after Marcus Brown slotting it away, Matty Taylor shithousing what was Ronan Curtis, I was about to say, an extremely rude word then. And then there was it was an own goal that went over the line and then got cleared back out. And Simon Eastwood made an incredible save in the penalty shootout.
I remember leaping from my chair when I was keeping a scorecard from Radio Oxford because nobody was there for it. But I think average manager, with all that in mind, I will say one thing is that, like, after he came in, we did get established as like a top League One team. After all like sort of like chaos before that, when we saw going up and down, managers going in and out the door. I think Carl Roberts came in and he sort of established as a side that everyone's going to know every season. Okay, Oxford's going to be challenging for the top, well, not the top, we're going to be challenging for automatic, challenging for the playoffs. So I think he's sort of like good in that regard. But I'll put him smack bang in the middle. I think like he was loved by the fans at a time. He was also hated by the fans at a time. And I think I think he can say he was a pretty average manager.
I think you've talked us around there, Connor, to keeping him where he is. It's because I'm also just remembering like the thing with KR, and you see it like with some of the videos that come out of Salford, is as a human being, he's so like he's got such an infectious energy, and he's such a passionate bloke. Also, sometimes to his detriment.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah, well, we'll keep him there. We might at the very end we're going to be able to change around one manager's position. We're going to swap them over, so we'll see if KR is one of them. Now, I had this man identified for that bottom corner because I think the general consensus is, but Will might have a different idea. Let's have a look at Mr. Chrissy Wilder. Will?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know where the heck I go with this. I mean, wow. Okay. Well, for starters, obviously, he would obviously remember bringing us up from the National League, and you would think that would be an easy task. But the National League is sort of a bit like League One, and that once you get stuck there, it's actually quite hard to get out of. I think obviously we experienced ourselves, like we lost the playoffs once, and then other seasons we just couldn't get anywhere near them. His time towards the end of the club was interesting, to say the least. If I remember correctly, it's a long time ago. If I remember correctly, he wasn't actually sacked because his results were that bad. He was sacked because his football was just diabolical. And
no.
It was a
am I
contract
wrong?
dispute, wasn't it?
Yeah, he walked away.
Okay.
He
Okay,
walked
fair
away
enough.
because he was on a rolling contract, and I think that he wanted more security. Because I believe that he had a little one on the way. I believe I'm ready to be corrected if that's wrong, but he wanted more contract security. Northampton were willing to give him.
I was going to say Northampton he walked into. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm right in saying his football was pretty diabolical because at that time I was too young to sort of understand. But I remember my dad just taking me football games and his head was in his hands, like during when Crystal Ronaldo was playing. It was just So I was really happy I wouldn't get this one, but I don't know where to put him. I think I'm gonna need some help with this. I was gonna say, I don't know if it's rude to say he's a bad manager because he did take us up to the National League and sort of like he did the club a huge favour in that regard. But then again, he didn't get us anywhere near to getting out of League Two. But then again, he's also done very well, obviously outside of Oxford with Sheffield, Northampton, his clubs before then as well. I was gonna put him bang in the middle just because I didn't know where to put him. Average manager, fans are divided. I don't want to say he's a bad manager. I don't know whether it's too much to say he's a great manager. I'll just say great manager, hated by the fans, and then I'll let you guys say your piece on it.
That's where I was leaning, just because I think there is a section of the Oxford fan base that haven't forgiven him for walking away like he did. I disagree on the football being diabolical. Don't get me wrong. When we went up to League Two, I remember vague memories of us playing some pretty shit stuff. But in the National League, I mean, we were probably one of, if not the best side in that division. That we were playing proper Mike Bassett 4-4-2.
I think when I say football being diabolical, I think it's the football that I can remember because the age that I am in League Two.
If we had the money that we have now, because our owner at the moment, Lanigan in Lanigan, his mind was more up north because he also owns Wigan Warriors Super League.
Yeah.
If he was giving us the money that he was giving Wigan, within 2-3 seasons we would have been in League One easy. Some of the teams that were coming up from League Two, but then you also think about like the likes of Fleetwood that came up, and then they just went straight up again, and then also Crawley, they came into League, went straight up again. I think because they were given the money, whereas Wilder wasn't. He was literally working with scraps. But did either of you two go to that game against Northampton on the final game of the season, where Northampton had to win to stay up, and they were playing Oxford?
Not from memory. No, I don't think I did.
That I went and I remember. Oh, what must I have been? I must have been about. I would have been 15, 16. That away end was absolutely toxic. And that was when Wilder wasn't even in our dugout. He was in the opposition dugout. And you could see how much he wanted to beat us. And when you look at any interviews that he does now, he's a lot more measured, I think, now compared to what he is then. But if any of the time that you've noticed when he plays us, he doesn't acknowledge the fans. He doesn't acknowledge Oxford fans whatsoever, which he doesn't need to. But you'd think that maybe he could do, because, you know, we did have a day that, you know, if we hadn't have won that game, we could have gone out of business. And we did have some good times under Wilder. I think about the the double over Canio, which was lovely. But I think Sam is right in the respect that there is a certain generation of fans, I think, that take what happened and how it ended more to heart than I think a lot of other fans do. And I do think that there still is a very big bitterness, I think, for a lot of fans.
I did actually forget about his doing a double over Swindon that one season.
And his spats were he seemed to get it. Like it's like him, KR, obviously Des. They got it. They got the hatred with either that other lot in the Thames Valley, or that lot down the A420.
I mean, part of my motivation for not wanting to put me great manager is because I want to put Appleton as a great manager. Well, so I know I'm not really allowed to think ahead about that. Something tells me you guys are going to disagree with me on that.
Let's talk about that when we get to it, shall we, Will?
Yeah. I'll put him. Yeah, so I'll put him bottom left.
Bottom left.
Great manager hated by the fans.
Great manager hated by the fans. Chrissy Wilder. You're right, Conor. Like I've said before on the show, that I absolutely love the bloke just for, you know, that day he gave us at Wembley and all that kind of the double over Scum. But you're right, there is a certain generation or a certain section, I wouldn't say generation, you know, there's some in our age bracket that hate him for the way he left. You mentioned him there, Will. Let's talk about Mr. Michael Appleton.
Sorry, Sam, before you start, I feel like this could upset a fair few. If this is going to go the way I think it's going to
go. At the minute, I'm sat on bad manager fans are divided. Again, because of the way he left, going to become Leicester's number 2, if I remember rightly. Because I think I'm just trying to remember my dates. Obviously, promotion to League One, and then I think, did he have the season afterwards? Or am I remembering that wrong?
Yeah, the season afterwards, and we got to the EFL Trophy final again, and then I think he went in June. I think is when he went to Leicester.
Yeah, it was during the summer he went to Leicester. Yeah.
He did alright in that season in League One. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, that squad could have made top 6 easy. I won't shy away from it.
I think we lost. I think we lost O'Dowda. I think we lost Danny Hilton. Maybe Roof. Yeah, also went. So that team got kind of pulled apart a bit. But yeah, at the minute I'm swaying towards bad manager fans are divided, just because his record away from Oxford. I think we talked about this on a previous podcast. That other than us and Lincoln, his record is awful.
It's a shite.
And even like Lincoln don't like. I think we're probably the fan base that love him the most, and even then there are some in our fan base that are pretty split on Appy.
See, for that reason, I'm with you in bad manager, because at the start, within about 3 months, I was calling for him to go. I'll put my hands up in that now, because it was that bad. Why are we losing to Cambridge, who've just come up 4-0 on Sky? It's embarrassing. But I think you're right in the respects that every other job apart from Lincoln that he's had, he's just not been cut out for it, and it irks me, because I want him to do well, and I think just get the right players in, stick with what worked well for you at Oxford and at Lincoln, which was bringing young, hungry players and mixing it in with a little bit of experience, or the outcasts, and you've got yourself an Appleton team. But it just hasn't worked. When was it Eels at the time when he started injecting the money. I think that's when you could see. Do you think that those players they got the promotion for Oxford more than Appleton did? Because when you think at the time of the calibre of players in League Two that we were bringing in, I think of that summer in 2015 when we brought in Ryan Taylor from Plymouth. You're thinking, what the? And then we bring in Liam Sercombe, who teams in League One would have been after, and you think, what the? And then we bring in the likes of Kamar Roof, Che Dunkley, and then you think, holy crap, we are building like an absolute League Two super team here. This is unbelievable. And then into League One, and Chris Maguire, by the way, which he was an outcast. Alex McDonald, exactly. And then you go into League One, and then we lost the likes of Roof, Hilton. Did we lose Jake Wright as well? Am I right in thinking, or was that in the next season after? Either way, I think that we lost him. We lost him in one of those seasons. Either way, but then we bring in Curtis Nelson, who again, clubs in the Championship, I believe, were after Curtis Nelson. We managed to bring him in. Ledson wasn't him. Lundstrom. I completely forgot about John Lundstrom. You think about the caliber of players that he brought in. Most of those have gone on to have such successful careers that I don't think that it's beyond the wit of man to say that those players are what got us promotion. And Appleton was just a part of it. And I do think that. Sorry, Sam. I'll put him in bad manager, loved by the fans because of the memories that he had. He had the potential to be our most successful manager after Jim Smith, and albeit he choked on 2 occasions in the JPT. He could have won us 2 trophies. We should have won the League Two title. We were the best team in League Two. Sorry, Northampton fans and Wilder. We were the best team in League Two. Don't care what you say. And also, we were a few points off getting top 6 in League One. So, for me, bad manager, but loved by the fans.
Well,
yeah, I think Mike Upton, I think he sort of gets an unfair sort of rep by the fans, but I would like to put him in great manager. I understand that he hasn't exactly performed that well since he's left Oxford, but I am just sort of thinking of the FA Cup runs he gave us, beating Swansea, a game against Middlesbrough, beating Newcastle, he beat Scum twice. Am I right in saying, doing that Rob Hall goal?
Yeah,
that was Appleton. Twice at Wembley, even if he should have won at least one of those, definitely should have beat Coventry, getting us back to League One. But then again, obviously, since he left Oxford, it's all sort of gone to shite, hasn't it? Fans are divided. I don't really get why. I feel like he should be loved by the fans. I'll be honest.
because that promotion,
just because of what he did for this club. I know that you brought up the way that he left Oxford to be the number 2 at Leicester, but for me, I almost think that's fair. He did so much for the club. He got us out of League Two. I could see Sammy disagree with me, but he got us out of League Two. He sort of got us established in League One. He gave us 2 Wembley visits. He beat Scum twice. He got us FA Cup Cup runs. He got us on national news by being a Premier League club in League Two, and then he was offered to be the assistant manager at a Premier League club. And he left us in a good place. He didn't fuck off in the middle of the season. He left us in a decent place. That is why I think he should be loved by the fans. But I will sort of begrudgingly agree that he has to be put in bad manager just because the rest is sort of taken up.
I was going to say that's the other part. Is I'm just looking at who we've got left. We've got 3 managers left, and 2 of them are Oxford legends. We can't. I love Appleton. Again, I've not got as much hatred for Appy as some in our fan base, but we can't put Appleton in loved by the fans when we've got 2 certified Oxford legends coming up. So we'll go bad manager. Love you, Appleton, but your time after us has been absolutely honking, mate. You know it, I know it. Everyone knows it. I think next manager. I'll just put him in place, shall I, Connor? It's Pep Clotet. There you go, son. Dan, there you go. Only good thing he ever did was bring in James Henry.
Yep, that's fair. That's what else you want me to say. I have to defend my players. Yeah, but you lost 7-0. I have to defend my players. Fuck off.
I mean, and also the alleged feuding with fans on Twitter on over his tactics was just what a car crash it was. Started okay, playing decent football, and then.
What do you mean? He brought in Julian Van Kessel and Jimmy Hernandez, absolute stalwarts, mate. Did he also bring in
Jamie.
Dwight Tiendale?
Oh, I can't remember.
Also, James Henry. That is not a Pep Clotet signing. That was an Appleton signing all over. So I'm sorry, Sam. I'm not giving him credit for that. That's how bad he was.
Yeah, it's weird because a bit like Appleton, it's like he's done all right with outside of us. I think he's doing okay in at least he was last season in Serie B, but with us I think he. Oh, it's difficult to say something. And is he the most giving Manning's there? I'm trying to think of like other managers we've had. Is he maybe the most hated? He definitely is in terms of like he did accomplish the square root of bugger all because Manning kept us in the division and set us up for promotion, but Clotet did the square root of fuck all.
You know what's mental about Pep Clotet? Later on in his career, he's the bloke that gave Jude Bellingham his professional debut.
Fucking hell, he was as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. He's always going to have that. He's always going to be part of English football history for that. Given who may well be one of our most technically gifted players, our most naturally gifted player ever, his debut.
Madness. Will, any other more slagging off you want to do of Pep Clotet?
No.
I think we're all agree where he's going.
There's no point in discussing he was shite. His time here was shite. Everything about him was shite. Was it 7-0 against Wigan or was it 7-1?
It
was one of the
7-0,
two.
wasn't it?
7-0. Yeah, that was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'd actually like to put him top left just to sort of just to see the meltdown in the comments. The only thing I really remember about Pep Clotet was before he was brought in, everyone thought it was going to be Frank Lampard for whatever reason, and all these rumours Frank Lampard.
We've had that a couple of times.
So yeah, that's like so it's pretty telling that the only thing I remember about him was like, oh well, there was a rumor we were going to bring somebody else. Like there was nothing to shout about his management, his time here. Yeah, I got nothing more to add.
And that mental, like when we hired Pep Clotet, Dave Jones, who's on Sky, he was one of the board members at Oxford, and he's got on record with not the top 20 in Ali Maxwell, and he said that they did interview Frank Lampard. They actually approached Frank Lampard, and then Frank Lampard came back and he had this profile on all the players that were at the club. And then I think he waited the next season to go to Derby County. If we'd have employed Frank Lampard, can you imagine some of the players that we would have brought in? I'm thinking like we could have brought in Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Fikayo Tomori. Like what we missed out on, but you know, history is history. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, it's tricky thinking about it because thinking where we were as a football club.
I know they're if buts and maybes, but you just think about how history could have been so different, and you know, wouldn't change it now. But
now this is tricky because the last two are the two most successful managers in our club's history. First up is Mr. Maurice Evans. If I can get him out of here, another local boy. This is going to be tricky because obviously wins the Milk Cup. Ooh, Will, I'll let you on this one, mate.
Yeah. So I think knowing who's next, I have to put him top right. I'm not about to call Jim Smith the bad manager. I think I get crucified. So I'm going to have to put him top right. I mean, he won us the Milk Cup. He managed us in the top division. Don't really know what else to say. I mean, he should be. I mean, surely he's loved by the supporters. I don't really. I'm not really on the terraces hearing everyone say, "Oh, Maurice Evans, yeah, what spite he was, yeah." Gosh, I wish he never managed that. He's cemented his place in Oxford's history for giving us our greatest ever days as a club, giving us our greatest honour as a club. So he's clearly loved by the fans, and purely because of who's coming next, I'm gonna have to say he's a bad manager. Yeah.
Shall we act on our one change and as much as we love him, move Des to bad manager so at least Maurice Evans goes in average because we can't call the man that won us our only major honour in bad manager. I know if you look at his career is obviously very interesting. It was Shrewsbury. I think it was Shrewsbury, then us, and that was kind of all he did in his career. He kept on having caretaker spells with us. But as much as I love Des, and I think he's got potential to be a good manager, I don't think we can walk back into the Castad on Saturday with Maurice Evans as a bad manager on this list.
That's fair. I think we might do that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Maurice Evans goes in. Average manager. Des, love you, mate, but you have to go to. I think even Des, local boy. I think he'd acknowledge that that Maurice Evans was a better manager than he was, and of course the bald eagle himself, Jim Smith, our greatest ever manager. Obviously, it's a little tricky for us to say because we only lived through the one kind of pseudo caretaker time he had when we were fucking cack and about to drop out of the Football League. But the fact that he obviously, I think that there's potentially still a little bit of I've spoken to some older fans and there's still a little bit of not animosity but irritation at the fact that he gets promoted up to the first division and then leaves to QPR only for him to come up against us in the League Cup final and then get beaten. But he's obviously a legend. Has got a stand named after him. As things stand, will has to have at least a stand, if not a statue, outside the new manor.
Yeah. I mean, he was, wasn't he? He was the first, or he made Oxford the first club to win 2 successive league titles.
Yes,
as in, like, win the third division, then win the second division, and then am I right in thinking that's when he left? He left us when we won promotion from the second division to the first division, then went to QPR, and that's when Evans came in. Yeah. I mean, you have to. Yeah, he was the glory years. They call that 80s the glory years. That period between 82, 83 to 86 glory years, because they were the glory years. We don't talk about where the money was coming from though, and who the owner was, but they were the glory years. That's one for you, listeners, to go find out, because we're not going to mention that on this podcast.
Yeah, fantastic book, The Glory Years, as Connor said. Go and read that because, it's let's just say it's a bloke that wasn't quite good at swimming.
Yes.
But I think that's probably as good as we could have done. I'm glad we gave ourselves that little out because thinking about putting Maurice Evans in bad manager. I realised halfway through I was like, oh, this isn't going to go well at all. In hindsight, is there any we would have say if we could have had multiple on one slot, any we would have changed around, Connor?
Oh, let me think. No, I'm trying to find a way to see. I'm thinking about your Gary Rowett position and trying to see if there's anyone that I would move or change, and I can't see it. I'm not sure what you think.
Maybe
or what you think.
Wilder goes to fans are divided, but then it's like who? Then do you have to then say, oh, Liam Manning's a great manager? I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, next thing you have to I feel like if we rearranged one, Sam, then we'd have to rearrange the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the final 9 degrees of Oxford United managers. I think we can all walk back into the Castad safely on Saturday, chaps. Speaking of the Castad, we're going to do a very quick discussion of course, the game at the weekend against Middlesbrough. At the time of talking, Middlesbrough have not appointed Rob Edwards' successor, as far as I'm aware, and it kind of doesn't look like they're any close to appointing one, are they?
Well, they've hijacked. I'm not sure if you heard this morning. There was a man from, I think it's Horenburg, probably butchered that pronunciation. Chap in Norway, they've hijacked Swansea's move for their manager. So, you know, it looks like they could have a manager instead by Saturday, and new manager bounced FC could be well and underway. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, to see if he changes anything to what Edwards has done. But it's going to be, let's make no bones about it, it is going to be an absolutely horrendous game to watch, because it's going to be very tough. And if we're not careful, probably the exact same thing that happened to us against Stoke may well happen again. There are some vulnerabilities, like Middlesbrough can be got at defensively, like they have times when they're not on it defensively. But when you look at their back line, I mean, headed up by Luke Ayling, who was like a massive part of Leeds getting promoted all those years back, and Dale Fry at the back as well. He should be back by injury by now. Like, those are two centre halves which are absolute rocks at the back. So, you know, Lancashire, Krastev, Harris, if any of those start, which probably Lancashire will, are all going to have their work cut out.
Definitely. Well,
sorry,
they're gone.
I was going to say Hayden Hackney in the centre of the park as well. Like, unbelievable boy. So
outrageous.
It's going to be tough. It's the overarching thing. It's going to be very tough.
Outrageous. Will, in their last 5 games, they've got 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss. So it was funny after that 3 winless. A lot of people saying, "Oh, Middlesbrough starting to unravel." No, they bounced right back. Obviously, you know, like Connor said, they were a machine last season. You know, handed us our heaviest loss of the campaign. This is going to be horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. Why is it always Oxford? Why is it always that we always play a team just after the second manager? Why do we always have to face that new manager now? Yeah, Middlesbrough and then Norwich. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but like, it's got to the point where I almost don't care about the opposition. I just want us to come out swinging. I think I said this last week. And for me, I think these next 2 games for Gary Rowett, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's win or bust, but I will go so far as to say, like, if he loses these 2, and I'm pretty sure the majority of the fans in the stands are going to start calling for his head. So for him, sorry, Connor, go on.
No, go on, mate.
Yeah, like, for me, it just, and the players as well, like, you have to, like, I know we've talked about this recently, but like, it's become pretty evident that like the effort sort of just like dwindled quite considerably. So I just want to see a lot of changes in terms of that, like in regards to that. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. It's probably going to be a horrible game. Norwich as well. That's going to be fun to watch. But yeah, like, I really hope he's used his international break. I really hope Gary Rowett's used his international break to really like give the players a rocket up the arse, and to really just he has to win. Like, he has to win one of these 2, if not both. He can't lose both these games, or else things are really going to start to get ugly for him.
Sorry, Sam, before you start, can I pick up what Will just said? I don't envisage us to pick up any points against Middlesbrough. That's just how I feel. And it's going to absolutely ramp up for Tuesday night. Tuesday night is the one you got to be looking at. There's nothing less than 3 points. If there's anything less than 3 points, these divided fans are going to get even more divided.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, go on, Will.
I mean, I feel like, because I know you said you don't feel like we're going to pick up any points, but I feel like because it's such a crucial game for Gary Rowett personally, and for the players as well, I feel like I just hope they can at least pick up something, pick up a point, or just shithouse their way into like a 1-0 win or something like that. Because like, the game's got such high stakes to it, and also I've said this a couple of times, but it's Oxford, so it's a game that we shouldn't be winning, which probably means we have the best possible chance of actually getting 3 points this time. But yeah, I suppose we'll see. But like, I agree with you. If we don't win this one, then Norwich is an absolute must-win.
I will say that I'm with you, Connor. That, you know, I'm not expecting for us to win this game. Just given the situation we're in and where, you know, how good Middlesbrough are looking. That being said, I agree with Will in the sense that the bare minimum is that those players pull out every trick they've got. You know, I don't care if we lose. I care that you lose. You go down fighting. I don't want, you know, these players to take a battering, you know, like they did last season. If you lose this game, you go down fighting, because, you know, at the bare minimum we expect to see, you know, an actual a decent display and loss, because so far all of our losses this season we've looked absolutely crap.
Yeah, that's fair. I think one thing we haven't mentioned, Sam and Will, is that we obviously want to see them fighting and giving them all and giving 101%. But this is a week where we have 3 games in 6 days, so I'm not sure how much Rauer is going to be thinking about that and squad rotation, thinking if, like, for example, Lancashire be hooked off, with 30 minutes left. Not sure how much rotation he's going to do, and it's a pretty thin squad as it is in defensive areas out wide. So I wouldn't be all surprised if he goes into a back 3 of Davies, Hellick, and Brown. Excuse me. And then maybe if he puts, I don't know, Lee and Long, god damn it, in a back 5. So we'll have to see if there's going to be that amount of games in that amount of time, and if he wants some consistency, and he needs a defensive structure. So I think that I can't believe I'm saying this, because I think it's ludicrous if we sack him. This next 3 games might be make or break for Rowett.
I don't know why I'm getting flashbacks to the that 3 games in 6 days run we had at the back end of the promotion season. Oh God!
Obviously, because his hands are sort of tied because of the schedule. You never know. Maybe Tyler Goodman's going to make an appearance, or Mark Harris is going to get a brace. I mean, we can always dream, can't we?
And pigs can fly.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Lewis Sibley masterclass incoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, for some reason he might turn it on and Ipswich a new one. We'll wait and see. But yes, God, that'll be. We'll do the full preview, of course, for the Norwich and Ipswich games next week. So yeah, we'll wait and see how the game against Borough goes at the weekend. Thank you so much for watching, folks. A bit of a longer episode this week. Please be sure, if you haven't already, to like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps us out in the algorithm. And of course, please share. That's another key point. Is we want to go Oxford United supporters as humanly possible, and we really need your help in that. And of course, follow myself, Connor, and Will are linked in the description. So go and give us a follow, and we'll see you next week.